I reckon she's absolute filth. She's so desperate. If she had brains, she'd be dangerous. Tacky photos. It was just, as I got to the platform edge, I thought, I'm gonna jump. When I first started out in my showbiz journey, I really just wanted to be in the West End. That was like my main dream. And then after I'd done that and I realised I was quite short and there weren't that many roles for me, then I thought I really wanted to do gritty dramas. So I really wanted to do like Shane Meadows type things. And then that didn't work out. And then I kind of realised, do you know what, I'm probably perfect for kids' TV. So I started out on CBeebies working on Tickabilla. And then they did a spin-off show of Higgledy House, which is where I got to work with Justin, who is probably better known as Mr. Tumble. I jumped on his back during the audition and we just completely got on. I was quite shocked when I first went into CBeebies because by then I was about 29, I think, and I felt quite old. Obviously, I'm 50 now, so now I feel really old, but I was about 29. The first time I realised that we were going to be treated a bit like children was there was a party, which sounds childish saying it, but there was a party, and me and another presenter were filming the next day. So instead of just saying, look, there's a party, we'd rather you didn't go, they just didn't tell us it was happening. Everybody else went and they just didn't tell us. And I just remember thinking, wow, that's like not putting very much faith in us, because I wouldn't have gone anyway. And then the next time I realised that I was seen more like a child and had to be squeaky clean was when I had a tattoo, a really big tattoo, on my back. And I remember being really excited and running in to tell one of the producers. I was like, I've had a tattoo, it looks amazing. And she was horrified that I had a tattoo. And I mean, and I remember getting it and thinking, you know, this is really good, it's really progressive. Lots of parents have got tattoos. People shouldn't be judged for tattoos, because people still are. So I thought I'd done quite a good thing in, representing people with tattoos for kids who have got parents who have got tattoos. But that was really frowned upon, and I was really quite shocked how much that was frowned upon. So yeah, we did have to be squeaky clean. So it was actually the 1st of November. I think I got a call from Peta in the October, and they said, would you like to do this campaign for us? And they'd said that I could wear bra and pants. So I'd got some flesh-coloured ones, and I was going to lay on this plate. We walked down and I'd got like a dressing gown on, and I lay on the plate. And as I lay down, the lady from Peta went, do you think you could take your bra off? Because that'll get us loads more news coverage. And I was kind of like, she was like leaning over me. And I thought, oh, okay. And she was like, please. I thought it was okay, because I thought, I don't know, I thought I was helping something. I thought my boobs weren't fully out. I didn't see what was wrong with boobs anyway. They're my boobs. And I didn't see really what was wrong with it. But then I did get quite a shock afterwards. It came out in the papers, which obviously I hoped it would. There was just like a shift in that whole day when it came out in the papers. And I remember it coming out, and I remember my legs almost like going from underneath me. And I remember phoning Justin, so Mr. Tumble, and leaving a message and saying, this has come out in the paper, can you call me? I don't know, I feel like something bad is going to happen. And then I just never heard from any of them again, any of them. And then I kind of found out in the paper, I think the paper had gone for a comment from the BBC, and they just said she no longer works here. So I was like, oh, that was that feeling there. That's what was happening there. And yeah, that was a shock. I can't say I immediately regretted it, because I didn't. I think I was disappointed that it was such a big deal. Yeah, I was disappointed that something like that would be such a big deal. So there was a Facebook group set up called I Hate Sarah-Jane Honeywell. I wasn't as surprised about that, I have to say, because I'd had a lot of hate on the, which sounds ridiculous, but I'd had a lot of hate on the grown-ups message board on the CBeebies website, like a lot of hate. And I knew that they filtered that. So sometimes I was kind of like, I can't believe they're letting this go through. But yeah, the I Hate Sarah-Jane Honeywell Facebook group was a lot. Okay, so here are some of the comments. Okay, so I reckon she's absolute filth. I think my husband wishes that I was. Wow, attention seeking. She's so desperate, a waster. Blimey, she loves herself, this one. She took her top off to further her career. Silly mistake, but she's a children's presenter, should have known better. If she had brains, she'd be dangerous. Tacky photos. I think it was annoying when I read the comments because I felt like they were unfair. I think I felt like that they weren't true. I think if someone had gone, oh, how naive was she to do that? Which I suppose one person kind of did, then I'd probably go, that's fair enough. But one of the things that really shocked me about it and really annoyed me about those comments was if you get your boobs out, then people automatically think that you're some sort of sex pest or something. And that really annoyed me, that you weren't allowed to own your own body as a woman, and that it would label you. I did this for a reason. I didn't get paid. I didn't get paid at all. They didn't offer any pay. And if they had, I certainly would have said no, because they're a charity anyway, but they didn't even offer pay. I just did it. And so I was a bit like, wow, to say that I'm like absolute filth and I did it for my career, which really at the time I remember thinking, like, sometimes when the mums were mean on the CBeebies grown-up Facebook thing, I'm basically a babysitter. And I don't know why you care that much that you would be openly so vile about me. I don't see how I'm going to further my career by getting my boobs out. What am I going to do? Be a page 3 model next? I mean, those sort of things are annoying because I think people go straight to that, and that's not fair. Obviously, work just completely dried up. About 2 years before doing CBeebies, I'd had quite a bad drug habit, only for 2 years, and now I've been 23 years clean and sober. But I'd already racked up some debts from that. Somebody that knew me said they were going to go to the papers and expose that. So I ended up going to the papers and talking about that. And when the picture first came out, in the Peta picture, what happened was CBeebies just didn't employ me anymore. But they still ran repeats. And if you're a presenter, you don't get repeat fees. You just get your fee for that thing, and then they can be repeated as much as it wants. And that's the gig. So that's not shocking. That's how it is. When this story came out about the drugs, and it was the Sun that did it, and they were really positive on it. They were really, really positive, and they were very fair in what they wrote. And they spoke to me about it a lot. And I wanted a positive spin of going, look, yes, I did drugs. Lots of the kids that used to watch me are now grown up. And what I'm saying is, don't do it. It's really bad. It's not the thing to do. And it's not the thing to do. It ruins your life. But CBeebies, obviously, old drug area, of course they didn't. They didn't see it that way as being helpful. And then they just wiped me off the channel, which meant any other kind of work that I could get on the back of that job, even though the BBC won't employ me, completely dried up as well. So I couldn't get any work at all. So all the debts from all that partying before I did CBeebies were still there. And then loads more debt started to just accumulate until I was just surrounded by debt. And I don't know if anybody out there has been in debt, like I hope they haven't. But it's just all consuming, and you feel like you're drowning in it. And I'd lost my job, so I felt like I'd lost my identity. Yeah, it was like I'd lost everything, including myself. And that was really, really tough. And I was really lucky because I met my husband, Aidan Callahan. And he kind of dragged me really by my hair along with him. But I didn't really know whether I couldn't see a future. So in March 2015, I just hit a really horrible stage in my life. I'd lost a baby, and I was quite old, so I was 41, and I was pregnant again. I'd lost my house. I still had £100,000 worth of debt. I'd lost my job. I felt like I'd lost my identity. He was in Hollyoaks. My husband was in Hollyoaks. He played Joe Roscoe in Hollyoaks. And at the time that I was having the first baby, he had a storyline running alongside it where he and his fiancée on the show were having a baby. So we were like, oh, this is really funny. Like, we're having babies at the same time as your character. Then I lost my baby. And of course, his character continued on. And it was really difficult. And I know, like, it makes me sound really weak to not be able to differentiate between, might get upset, between the character and my life. But I really couldn't. Like, I was like, I can't deal with this at all. And like, he'd have like scripts where he'd have to go and do a scan. And I'd like freak out. And I mean like psycho. I mean like utterly psycho out. So then I got pregnant again. And again, we still didn't have a house. We were living in Liverpool, but he'd got a job. He was helping me service my debt. And they did a storyline. They suddenly told him, just as we announced that I was pregnant, just as I felt safe, that he was going to have a storyline where he would have a stillbirth. And he was going to be filming that around the time that I was going to be having my baby. And I just absolutely, and I might cry, I just absolutely fell to pieces. And I think, well, I know I cost him his job there because he had to leave because I was such a psycho. He had to be asked to be written out of the storyline. Yeah, it was just a nightmare. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know. I felt like I was letting him down. I'd let my parents down. I'd let everybody down. And I just remember walking to the train station in Egbeth in Liverpool. And it wasn't that I'd thought about I'm going to kill myself or that I'm going to hurt myself. It was just as I got to the platform edge, I thought, I'm going to jump. It was like a compulsion. It wasn't, I can't deal with my life anymore. I'm going to jump. It was like, I need to jump. And it was like having to stop myself more than wanting to do it, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense. And then I just remember my little boy kicking. And then that, sorry. And then that shocked me out of it. And then it was I'm so sorry. It was a really stressful pregnancy. I just felt like, sorry. I felt like the whole time I was going to have a stillbirth or whatever. And then I had him, and then everything changed, which is why, so sorry, which is why he's called Phoenix. Because he like rose out of the ashes of what was hard. It was hard. I think my family really helped me in that, I mean, probably unhealthily, like I have thrown everything into making my boys I just want them to have the best life and the best memories, and um, which is probably a bit unhealthy, I think. Um, but they made me kind of realize that I am, um, no, not that I am. They made me realize that it's the quiet times in life that are the best times. Like I was always like searching for the next job and, wanting people to like me and approve of me. And they just made me go, actually, the only thing that's important in life is now. With your kids, I think you don't know when the last time they're going to hug you as hard as they possibly can, because they're going to grow up, and it's those little things in life, and those things are so important. There's so much more than the big stuff, and I think that's what my kids have taught me. I think the shame that kind of came from doing that photo and the effect that it had on my life, at the time I felt like it was I just felt like my life was over, really. But sounds really cheesy, but I feel like it was the beginning. And I know that they always say that, like if there's a storm, there's a rainbow at the end. And I couldn't really see that at the time, but my life is so much better now, and I'm so much more secure, and yeah, I'm happy, and I would never have had this life ever if that hadn't happened. And yes, fame and working and recognition are amazing. They're amazing, but they're not real. They're not real. And I think that whole experience taught me about having a real life. I think cancel culture is really dangerous. And I think people forget that human beings are behind those celebrities that have made mistakes. I think, there are celebrities that haven't made it because of cancel culture, and they're no longer with us. And that in itself should just say how dangerous it is. However, there is that side of, I don't think that celebrities and people with power should be able to get away with just doing what they want either. But I think it's being sensible. And I think, unfortunately, the main victims of cancel culture are people like me who really I didn't want to hurt anybody. I didn't set out to hurt anybody. And maybe that's the key. I think if you didn't set out to hurt anybody, then you should be given another chance. If you set out to hurt somebody, then sure, then that's not very nice. And maybe you should be punished then. Well, I do quite like the picture. When those pictures came out, I was like, hark at me, actually looking all right. So it's the only time that's ever happened. So I'm all right about it. My kids have seen it. My kids have seen it, and their friends at school have seen it. They don't care. But yeah, I'm kind of I'm proud of how it looks. Would I still have done it if I could see into the future and I knew what was going to happen? Yes, because I'm so happy now, and it just changed everything for me. I wish I didn't have to go through all the kind of pain that I went through, because it was a physical pain as well. I think, like, if something hurts you mentally, it's like someone's ripping your heart out, I think. So it was a physical pain, and I didn't really want to go through that. Do I have a message for the trolls? I think it'd just be, they're human beings that you're talking about. And I get why you do it, because I've seen people on TV and gone, oh, I hate that person. But then if you step back and think about it, do you really hate that person? or are you just venting your own stuff? And just remember that that person is a human being and they have lots of other hard things in their lives, like they're losing people or they're struggling mentally, or so just take a step back and realize that we're all the same.